All right. We are back for Roundtable Ravens episode number 31. Again, starting this the way I've been starting them because this has resulted in two new followers on the actual Roundtable Ravens site. So happy for that. But please, people, if you guys like what you hear, you like our coverage of the Ravens, please go like, subscribe, share, do all the things, comment. We will comment back, all that good stuff. And in the description of this video is the official Roundtable Ravens site where you will find all analysis, news, and everything else coverage for the Ravens 2026 season. Training camp is basically here. We will be talking about that today, as well as a new signing that we talked about for weeks and months. But again, please, if you guys can join the site, it definitely helps us with exposure, all that good stuff. Thank you again for people that may have found the site through this podcast or whatever. We really appreciate it. Anyway, jumping right into it. Again, we have once again told the future. I brought this guy up. We brought this guy up. He's now part of the Ravens. Ethan Pocic has signed a 1-year deal with the Ravens, and he will now be the presumed starting center. This makes sense for all the reasons in the world, as we've been bringing up. The center room was kind of rough. Danny Pinter was the presumed leader of that room, but he only has 10 starts at center. Jovan Gwynn was in the mix, no center starting at all, has never played center. And then there was a mismatch of potentially it being John Simpson or Corey Bullock or whoever, maybe even Vega Ioane would be in the mix, but it does not matter anymore. Pocic is now going to be the presumed starter. He is the most starts. I think it's like 97 games under his belt as a starting center. 2023 season, he was a lot better. He's slowed down a little bit over the last two. He tore his Achilles, which is probably why the Ravens did not go out and get him initially. But as soon as he was cleared to play from doctors for football activities, the Ravens went and signed him to a 1-year deal. Again, this makes total sense. I am not saying this to say that he's guaranteed to get that starting center position, but it's probably going to happen. But obviously, now the Ravens are in a better position because they have Pocic as a starting center and they have a ton of backups in case something does happen. So Joe Thomas, who's a former Cleveland Browns player, actually just saw a video with him talking about Pocic, and he said that they're in a much better position because Tyler Linderbaum got a contract that he believes he's not worth. I know that we've said something similar. I'm not Tyler Linderbaum is great, but he's like, you don't need guys to push the pile 10 yards down the line. I don't really agree with that all the way, but he did, play with Pocic and just praised him, and obviously the fact that the Ravens did not have to break the bank to find a quality center. So obviously he has to meld with everybody else, but they got him in the building. Training camp is about to start, and there you go. He can now be that anchor in the center of the line that is potentially going to be okay in 2026.
Yeah, EDC, you're a Roundtable Ravens listener. Did you hear James last week and think, great idea? Let me get on the phone.
I don't know.
Let's hope
Look,
so.
I mean, yeah, it's possible. I wouldn't put it past them. They're an organization that likes to stay in the loop. So, I mean, finally, the situation's been addressed. We've been sat here for weeks and just not feeling quite right about it. And still, while I think that he's not Tyler Linderbaum, he's 30 years old. He's a veteran presence, which is great, but he's not a long-term plan. He's probably good for this season, next season, maybe even the season after. But, if he shows up and out, then I think he could definitely be there for a few, but he doesn't solve like a big long-term hole there that I think that they're definitely going to be looking still to fill that offensive line out in the next draft. Yeah, another AFC North alum over in the Ravens, familiar with the teams that they need to beat each season, familiar with that Browns organization, familiar playing against the Ravens, So I think he's going to be a great addition. I think it's kind of important to have someone with that, especially someone who's protecting Lamar Jackson to kind of know the tricks of the guys that are coming at him. I like this signing a lot. And I think, of course it's not Tyler Linderbaum. And we don't know until, we don't know if he's going to mesh with this line, but maybe he'll come over to the Ravens and his talents will just be elevated even further. So everyone can breathe a sigh of relief for now. We'll see in training camp.
I'll say this too: in 826 snaps, he gave up 2 penalties and 2 sacks. That's not ideal, but it's also not terrible. You know what I mean? Like,
No?
it's not the worst in the world. And his overall grade on Pro Football Focus, he was like middle of the ground for the centers, had a about middle run blocking grade. So I mean, like, he's not the shiniest center in the world, but he's definitely a center that they needed, a actual pure veteran who can play the position and not somebody that they're scrambling to put together in terms of
Yeah.
like Danny Pinter or Jovan Gwynn or Corey Bullock or whoever was in the building. That's no slight to them. It's just the fact that like he is a quality starting center and they got one finally.
Yeah. And that's definitely needed this season. That was the one thing that I think we were all just staring at, like,
Yeah.
gosh, please address this
Weeks,
before
months,
July.
months.
Yeah. The second Linderbaum was out that door, we were like, right, so who's coming in next? Because
Yeah.
that's serious. No, agreed. I think he was the best of what was available, and that's all you can really hope for at this point in the season.
Yeah, the moment they lost Linderbaum, right, we were like, well, that certainly wasn't part of the plan. And now they shuffled. They got these veteran depth pieces. You're like, okay, this can't be it, right? They're not going to rely on these guys. And then Pocic becomes available, and you're like, okay, I think this is exactly what they need. They need stability. They need a veteran, and that's something that the Ravens were lacking at the not only in the offensive line position, but in the center position. Arguably, you lose your best player in that line, and now you're kind of scrambling. You're lost, and now they get some stability, they get some veteran presence, and it's perfect for Lamar Jackson. Is it only going to be for 2026? Yeah, probably. But losing Linderbaum, obviously that was a huge blow. That was a huge loss. So this will do for now. Yeah, James, like you said, he's most likely going to be the starting center. So be it. Yeah, I mean, you have Pinter, Gwynn, Bullock, right? It was all up in the air. It was a big question mark. This doesn't necessarily take them over the top, but it certainly gives them a better shot than it did what happened Friday, right? It gives them a better shot than it did before Friday. So training camp's a little bit under a week away, maybe a week away for the Ravens. So it's going to be really exciting to see how he looks. But most importantly, he's healthy. That's the most important thing, that he's healthy. Well, he's cleared because probably the doctor said he was healthy. So hopefully he comes out and he proves that he is, and he's just a right fit under Lamar, and then eventually under Declan Doyle's offense.
Yeah, and Mike Clay, who puts together these really expansive lists of offensive line rankings. Every player gets like a grade out of 10, and it's all there's their PFF grade, their position adjusted pass and run block win rates. There's a whole lot that goes into it. With Ethan Pocic joining the Ravens, they are now number 11 according to his graph. So that's pretty good. I mean, they were probably like, I want to say they were probably like 15 or below, probably closer to 20. Now they're number 11 because they get a quality center in Pocic there. So big win for the Ravens. They can stop running around like chickens with their heads cut off now and really focus in on the season. But we have more training camp to get through, so we're going to jump right into that. Pocic is now here, moving from offensive line, which we already covered, and he signed, so we can't talk about him. That's not part of that. Anyway, moving on. We're going to talk about the defensive line first. Obviously, there's some major question that we also have been bringing up for months and weeks at this point, but it's whether or not Madubuike will return to this team. All signs seem to point that to him returning, but I don't know. So we got Madubuike, Travis Jones. You got John Jenkins. Calais Campbell is now back in the building. CJ Okoye, David Olajiga. I don't know if I'm butchering that one. Broderick Washington, Aeneas Peebles, Deion Wilson, and then Aaron Graves. So you got some quality people here. Travis Jones has been, I think, pretty good. I think he's going to keep getting better. You got Calais Campbell coming back in the building. And, as we've said on this pod, Calais Campbell is great. He's a consummate pro. He's always been a pro. This is presumably his final year, as he stated. So he's going to leave it all out on the field if it truly is. He brings that veteran presence. If Madubuike does come back, like the Ravens defensive line and just defense as a whole gets lifted, I don't know how, exponentially, but we just don't know when he's going to come back. They haven't really said anything. Eric DaCosta indicated it could be they're going to announce something in the next couple of weeks as training camp is obviously here. It's probably going to be like, will he be there like week 8? Will he be there week 1? Sometime in between. We don't really know, but I want to say that firmly believe that he is going to come back this season. We just don't know at what point. But I think Peebles is also a player to watch out for. He's young, and I think he's going to take that step in year 2. And, they got a pretty good quality defensive line here. And especially, as we've also said multiple weeks and months, you got Anthony Weaver back in the building. You got Jesse Minter back in the building. This defense is going to take that step because they have defensive-minded coaches running the show now, and they're expected to. And yeah, defensive line, I think it's pretty solid. Again, it's going to be much better if and when Madubuike does come back.
For sure. And I think that this is a much better position than they were in at the end of last season. Losing Madubuike was just a big loss, and I don't think they ever found someone to fill those shoes. And now hopefully they don't have to. Calais Campbell is obviously older and won't be around beyond this season, but he's going to be a great fill-in while Madubuike is kind of finding his feet again, and then he's going to be even great, paired up with him and kind of alternating between the two of them. So I really can't wait. Travis Jones really did the best, I think, last season of everyone that was kind of on that line, and I think that maybe having had that and having to kind of step up, this will be his year to kind of just grow and flourish, and we'll see more of him. But yeah, this is great news on the defensive line for the Ravens, because last season it was just looking bleak. Obviously, Draymond Jones left, has now gone back to New England. Didn't really make that much of an impact in the way that I think that, they were kind of hoping. So yeah, I think this is just a sigh of relief. But obviously it is, when is Madubuike coming back? And, how will he come back? How is he going to play? Does he going to look like his old self? I'm sure he will. He's incredible, is an incredible player, but those injuries really can, even just play in the back of your mind psychologically about, you don't want to go through that again. So, but either way, it's going to be a good season for that line, I feel like.
Madubuike is really the biggest question mark for this line. Will he be ready for week 1? Like you said, James, maybe, hopefully, for the Ravens' sake, first half of the season, that would be ideal. Yeah, his loss last year was really tough. Last year, the Ravens, they were one of the best in the run defense. They allowed 80.1 rushing yards, 3.6 yards per rush. Where they really struggled was in pressures and getting to the quarterback. They only had 30 sacks last year, which was near the bottom, or was in the bottom of sacks in the NFL. So, and a lot of that had to do with the loss of Madubuike, right? I mean, it's plain and simple. So, if he does miss some time, how much can you rely on guys like Travis Jones, right? John Jenkins, right? Could Campbell still, fill some sort of role there, right? And then you look at guys like CJ Oguke, right? I mean, can those guys step up? Can those guys, fill the role? Do they have enough depth, right? This is a big year for the line, for the depth, right? I mean, this Ravens defense, this Ravens team has established itself as one of the best defenses, arguably, on a consistent basis of the century. Certainly for the last couple of years. Now you have a defensive-minded coach coming in, right? You got Weaver calling the plays and whatnot. So this is a big year for the line. I think they can get back to being a formidable threat. How long will that take? Hopefully not too long. But a lot of that will have to do with the health of Madubuike and what and how long he's going to miss. But if he's healthy, if he's right, I think this Ravens defensive line will get right back to at least near the top, or at least better yet, the top half of a lot of these defensive categories.
I know we've said this about most positions, but it really is about the health, because the depth is not great beyond these starters. Broderick Washington has done the job in the past, and he has Peoples also, but I really would have liked to have seen Clowney come back to the Ravens. I think he made a great impact while he was there. I don't know why that's, whether he's decided he wants to retire, or if he's still knocking about, because he's not with the team right now. So I would have liked to have seen that reunion. I do wonder if they'll see kind of how this plays out throughout the season, if they're done with that. There's some holes there that if, a couple of them get injured, I don't really know how impactful it can be.
Yeah, so 30 sacks was near the bottom. They were tied with the Arizona Cardinals and Carolina Panthers, but they weren't the bottom. And then this is a stark change from 2024 where they had 54 and they were second. So obviously the loss of Matabuke, Kyle Van Noy not having a great season. Like there were so many different things that, factored into that. Now they can turn that corner and it starts with the defensive line and they could really do some damage. Again, the fact that they have defensive minded coaches ready to go, ready to help them get to that next level. And that leads us right into linebackers, which work in tandem with the defensive line. And as we know, the main man in charge, Roquan Smith, you got Trey Hendrickson, who's listed as a linebacker. We know he's kind of a defensive end type of player, but he can move around. So we'll just leave him in the linebacker core for now. Leave him there. You got Teddy Buchanan, who we will talk about in a moment. Tavius Robinson, Mike Green, Zion Young, Trent Simpson, Jay Higgins IV, and a whole bunch of backups, Raid Williford, Dominic DeLuca, Adisa Isaac, Ethan Burke, Kamon Rucker, Carl Jones. So similar to Matabuke, Teddy Buchanan was fantastic in 2025 as a rookie player. He had 93 total tackles, was second on the team behind Roquan Smith until he tore his ACL, unfortunately. But Eric DeCosta did indicate, which we brought up, that he is on his way. Well, I think I brought this up outside. I don't think we brought it up on the pod. But Teddy Buchanan is on his way back. He said we'll see Teddy Buchanan sooner rather than later, meaning he's probably going to be back, if not by week 1, I would assume in the first quarter of the 2026 season. This is my presumption. This isn't confirmed.
We're hoping and praying.
We're hoping. So the idea is that he'll be back sooner rather than later, meaning he's probably going to be back before the first half of the season is done through, which is great. We saw videos of him working out. He's doing cuts. He looks great. He is a rookie player, so maybe that's why he was able to bounce back. Eric DeCosta said he's in the top 1% of rehabs he's seen. Again, we don't really know what the hell that means, but something good. But anyway, Tavius Robinson also had a bounce back. He had injuries as well. But then Mike Green. Mike Green is the guy that everyone seems to be very, very excited about, which understandably so. He showed flashes of brilliance as a rookie as well. He's going to take that next leap. You got Zion Young coming in the building. This guy's physical through and through. And yeah, you got, again, Trey Hendrickson that's there to help those guys out. He may not be as effective in run stopping as he is obviously in pass rushing. So we'll see how Weaver and Minter plan to use him. And then Roquan Smith, who, was actually just recently called out by Jeff Zrebiec, saying that he is the guy that has the most to lose in 2026, or rather he's the guy that everyone should be paying more attention to because he's 30, he's owed $20 million, and he had a season that was not that great. No interceptions, no sacks, only 130 total tackles. I say that to say he's one of two linebackers that have gotten 130 total tackles over 3 years. That's him and Bobby Wagner. So take that as you will. But it's a good, strong linebacker group. We know this. And especially those players that are going to be second-year players. You got Zion Young coming in the building. There's a lot of excitement. And again, defensive-minded coaches, I think this unit could be fantastic.
Yeah, where the issue is with them, so there's not necessarily the depth there. There's totally the depth with the linebackers. There's no excuses. I feel like this year, there are great guys. Roquan Smith, I feel bad for the guy. Last season, he was getting dragged through the mud of he's missed a step. He's old man. He's put on too much weight. He's so slow. He's Roquan Smith. Everyone had a bad season last season. Don't even look at the defense last year because they just had a bad time, And is that really acceptable for a defense that has been so brilliant? No, not really. But when everyone's having a bad season, there has to be something deeper going on there. Whether that was a culture thing, whether that was rumors in the building of this being Harbaugh's last year, whether that was pressure, whether that was just injuries and they were exhausted. There are so many things that there could have been. But this looks like a great lineup. I mean, Teddy Buchanan was so fantastic last year before the injury, and I can't wait to see him come back and kind of get a chance to do that again. I just really hope that he doesn't come back before he's ready. I hope that he gives his body a chance to kind of catch up with itself and feel fully better, because that has happened in the past. J.K. Dobbins came back before he was ready to go and, injured himself and has kind of continued doing that throughout the rest of his career, sadly. So, we see these flashes of brilliance in players, and I just really hope that he can kind of come back and be the guy that he was. And I think with Trey Hendrickson there, wonderful. As much as they would have loved the to have both of those ends that they signed, and that didn't really work out for them. Yeah, no, I think that this is going to be a great year, and those additions, and also with Mike Green, I don't think he really got to show off what he has to offer last season because of just everything that was going on. So I think that this will be a big year for him to step up. And that addition of Zion Young, everyone's really excited about him. I think that, if they can kind of get back to, if Roquan can hold that room and just, really show them through with the leadership. And I'm sure Ray Lewis and Ed Reed and Terrell Suggs will kind of come in and hype them up and get them into the Ravens mindset. I think that this could be, and like you said, having that defensive minded coach can really, really make a difference. Getting that identity, that core identity back, I think will be a big boost for them. So there's no excuses this year other than the fact you've got a whole new coaching staff.
Yeah, and
which is a big one.
Trent Simpson is another name that also everyone keeps talking about too, because he's going to be getting a lot more opportunities now with Teddy Buchanan being hurt. So there's a lot of talk about him being that guy that can step up too, and that would be great if he does, because then you have him and Teddy Buchanan ready to go. Obviously, again, like you just said, I don't think they have to rush him back because they have enough depth pieces, they have enough players there in that linebacker room. It's one of the deepest of the entire roster, so you don't need to rush him to come back. Even though he's young, he's a second-year player, he's probably going to be like, get me on the field. Like, they're not going to have to. They're not going to have to do that because of who they brought in and what they have in that building. So, again, Roquan Smith, mind you, was still rated ranked second by ESPN off-ball linebackers. So him being old, and like I said, 30 years old is old for football years, but I just think it was just an underwhelming defense, which he himself called out and called himself out. So everyone should expect that next leap. If it does not happen, then I think there's going to be some uncomfortable conversations to have in the 2027 offseason for sure.
For sure. And I think he's going to be feeling that pressure, and he will absolutely step up to the plate. He has the grit to do it. So come on, Ro.
Yeah, a lot of people are tagging him as the most approved because of the cap hit, because of his down year in 2025. Jesse Minter is certainly big on him. A little bit before minicamp was over, he said he expected him to be the best linebacker in the league, and I don't think that's a stretch at all. That's totally doable. We've seen it before from Smith, and with the right pieces in place, which is what the Ravens have now, I think we all believe that. He should certainly return to that all-pro type of form. Now, the question is, outside of him, James, you brought him up. Trent Simpson, can he emerge? Can he carve out maybe more opportunities for himself? Zion Young is a guy that they drafted earlier in the year. Can he be a guy to come in kind of like Buchanan did last year and just, kind of take the room by storm and establish himself as one of the best, maybe not linebackers in the league, but certainly the best linebacker probably in the Ravens depth chart? Those are two guys I'm looking at, is Simpson and Young. If they could maybe learn from Smith, and if they could quickly establish themselves in that role. Obviously, Smith is going to get a lot of the attention because of what happened with him, just how the Ravens season played out last year. But with the right pieces in place, I think he'll be right back to the player that we all expect him to be, that we all know him to be. And then I think I'm really high on Simpson and Young as well. I think those two guys could really learn a lot from Smith and from Hendrickson as well. And just dominate and go out there and be the Ravens linebackers that we've seen throughout their history, really.
Trent Simpson was drafted in 2023, by the way. He just hasn't really gotten that much opportunities for obvious reasons, like the stacked linebacker room. Just to let you know about that. But this again, like you said, Billy, there's no excuses here. None at all. This linebacker group is stacked. They have a lot of depth. They have a lot of young upstart players. They have veterans in the building. There's no excuses now. You guys got to get your S together and just go out there and perform. Finally, on our training camp breakdown here, we're going to jump right into the secondary with the cornerback unit. Similar to Roquan Smith, you got a guy that's been leading that group in Marlon Humphrey, who also had a down year and also was the subject of much of that criticism, but it is what it is. Then you got Nate Wiggins. Fantastic, but he was also hurt. Apparently, he's been hurt since high school. He revealed in a new interview, or recent interview, it was like a month ago at this point, and he had some off-season surgery that that corrected something. Nobody knows quite what it was, but he himself said that he was only playing at 60 or 70%, and he still had a pretty good year on that. Now he's coming back fully healthy, 100%, according to him. Chidobe Awuzie is back. You got Chandler Rivers in the building, TJ Tampa, Amani Oruwariye. I probably ruined that one. Sorry. Keon Martin, Marquise Robinson, Bilal Kone, Matthew McDoom, which I love that name. I love reading that guy's name. Ladarius Webb and Robert Longerbeam. But Matthew McDoom, he's an undrafted free agent. I just can't. It's like a comic book hero. Yeah, I can't, or villain. Like, I can't get that guy's name out of my head. Maybe he's on the practice squad. I don't know. Anyway, the secondary was not that great in 2025, as we know. But again, this is just the entire defensive performance in 2025. Left a lot to be desired, but if Marlon Humphrey can kind of have a bounce back year, he's got Nate Wiggins with him, and Awuzie came back. I think they have a really strong core unit, but it just, again, it really depends on health. It really depends on them banding together, and really, Marlon Humphrey needs to kind of be the Marlon Humphrey of old and not what he was in 2025. He missed a step, but again, like, everybody was kind of dealing with an injury, so take that as you will. It's not an excuse, as multiple people on the Ravens defense have said. It's circumstances, but you cannot blame circumstances. Overall, the defense did not do its job, and the secondary definitely did not do its job, but now you're coming back healthy. Everyone's apparently healthy. Nate Wiggins is fully healthy, so really excited to see what they do in 2026 for sure.
Yeah. The cornerback room has kind of gone through a lot over the last few seasons. I think Marlon's kind of been the fixture there. And he has just this habit of sometimes really doing it and getting it done and being the guy and being this like strong personality in a way that, because he's known as the team clown. Everybody's always laughing at him, they make fun of him, but then he gets on the field and he does the work. But I think sometimes that persona kind of eats into his work a little bit, and it doesn't. I don't know. He's a really interesting one because he is, they call him All Pro Marlo for a reason over there. He's respected. He's great at his job when he does it well. But yeah, I would really like to see him kind of just get back to where he's been the last few seasons. And I remember a few seasons ago, like, a habit of his is after like a win on the road, when they're flying back in the plane, he does like a live stream to the fans. And I remember one year he like tried to talk to Lamar, and Lamar was like, "Don't talk to me," like, because it was a win, but it was like a poor win. There was like a field goal in it, and he was like, "Don't talk to me. I don't want to be on the live." And then after that, I think he had a conversation with Marlon, being like, "Stop doing this. This doesn't look good for us. Like, so I really want to see Lamar kind of taking hold and because when he has conversations with people, the next week, these people come back and they just have these next level games. And I remember he came back the next week and had this incredible game. So I think I just want to see him grounded. I want to see him kind of stepping into his veteran era, really bringing up these guys underneath him, like Chandler Rivers. They just signed him in the 5th round. How much of an impact he'll make this season, we don't know. But the Ravens have a habit of kind of picking up people around the 4th, 5th round that just kind of explode unexpectedly. So, he could do that. And Nate Wiggins was great. Again, didn't really get to show off in the way that I think he could have done. So yeah, there are great guys on this side of the ball that I would really like to see kind of show up and out this year. Especially Awuzie, he was great. When he had to step up, he stepped up. In the empty void of Brandon Stevens, which Ravens fans will feel deeply now that he went over to New York.
I will say, as a career class clown, I get it, because that's what I did too. I was like, oh, I'm just being funny. I don't have to do any of my work, and I never did. But that's neither here nor there.
But when you're this is the thing, is like when you're talented and you don't really have to work at it, like
right.
Him, it's noticeable for him when he puts in that extra effort, because he knows that he's good at his job. But sometimes you need to show up and just have a special day, and I think that he needs to do more of that next season. But we love him. We love to laugh at him, and he's got Jacoby Lane, who's like his younger brother now on the team, is also the class clown. So
that's right. Yeah.
Hopefully he'll start nurturing these younger talents and kind of showing them how to do both.
Yeah, very true. Humphrey is the guy I'm looking at. Can he bounce back? Can he bounce back in a big way? He's 30 years old. James, he's like a dinosaur, right now. So, can he get back to some sort of formidable level with Weaver, with Minter, and also too, I'm looking at if Wiggins can take the next step and truly establish himself as a lockdown corner. Can he take that leap? Right? He's very, very young. What is he, like 22 years old, 23 years old? This dude's like super young, and he's also super talented as well. You know, I'm looking at, can he take the next step? Can he generate more, you know, pass breakups or interceptions?
He's 22.
He's
He'll be 23
old, right?
in August. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So he's going to enter the 2026 season at 23 years old. Has proven himself already. So those are obviously the two guys I'm looking at, the two guys who should establish themselves as Wiggins, I at least expect to possibly be a lockdown corner. Humphreys, you know, find more his mark, find more his footing, find more the player that he kind of was, at least shades of that. And then, like, who really solidifies themselves in, like, the depth pieces. Guys I'm looking at are like Tampa and Longer Beam. They're going to be competing for meaningful, you know, snaps. So can they be guys who could kind of fill that role whenever Humphreys or Wiggins is out, whether it's for a series, for a couple of snaps, possibly for maybe a game or so. Obviously, you don't want that.
Don't put that curse over them. Take that back.
You know, but yeah, that's something that, you know, that's something you got to look at. You know, is Weaver going to be comfortable with putting those guys in those certain spots and those certain positions, whether however long that duration will be. So those are a couple of things I'm looking at. Yeah, obviously last year was not pretty. It was not pretty for anybody. But can they get back to being, you know, some sort of, I don't know, not scary, but like, you know, quarterbacks got to think twice before they kind of throw the ball down the field, because opposing quarterbacks last year, they kind of had their way just a tiny bit.
Yeah. Look, 30 years old, you're probably 2021 when you enter the league. It's like 8 years already, 8 years. That's why I say they're old. You know what I mean? Like, stop attacking me, people. You know what I mean? They are not dinosaurs. I'm just saying.
But we're laughing at the fact that the NFL does. It's not you. It's
I
like
know.
they start like washing them to the side, like, ugh.
There's a meme that I saw. It was like, he's the oldest player in the NFL, a medical marvel, and he's like 32.
Meanwhile, Aaron Rodgers is in the building.
Yeah, I know. Meanwhile,
right?
Come on now.
Absolutely decrepit, rotting Aaron Rodgers is back in the building. Anyway,
Tom Brady at 42, still winning Super Bowls.
Yeah. So, you know, but yeah, everybody collectively together. Again, this is no excuse. You now have Jesse Minter. You now have Anthony Weaver. You have a brand new coaching staff, brand new defensive staff in the building. Everybody, they have to take that step. If they don't take that step, we know what 2027 is going to lead to. Maybe Eric DeCosta is out of the building, a restructure of everything again. They just have to come back together and be that normal Ravens defensive organization that they're known to be. Period. We know this.
Yeah. I think they're getting a grace year. After that, it will be.
Yeah, I mean, you have to see that growth with everybody across the board. But yeah, this is our probably last one. Maybe we're going to fit in safeties and special teams next week. Training camp is here, basically. I think we're going to be able to do it before training camp starts. Either way, thank you guys so much for listening. This has been Roundtable Ravens, episode number 31. Again, share, like, subscribe, do all the social media things. Go to the description of the video. That is where the official Roundtable Ravens site will be. You can join there. It's free to create an account. Talk with us, comment, do all the things, because we love talking Ravens football. We will be back next week. Thank you guys so much for listening.